This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Jeff Gardner.
Welcome to another episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Today we have another good neighbor on with us, and that is Kathleen Burroughs of Buddy Up Social Skills. Kathleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know we struggled a little bit getting you on here a couple of times, but it's the way life goes. Just makes more anticipation for an exciting conversation. So for the people who don't know, for the people who need a reminder, what is Buddy Up Socials? Buddy Up Social Skills? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so again, my name's Kathleen. I'm the owner and lead program facilitator of Buddy Up Social Skills. And Buddy Up is social groups primarily for neurodivergent individuals. So we have a teens group, kids group, and an adults group. And we go around Simcoe County. It's mobile social groups that the kids can come and paint and play board games and have fun and make friends.
Very interesting. Okay, I have a litany of questions that come up from that. Okay, so neurodivergent is a word that I've been hearing for probably the last only 2 or 3 years. It doesn't seem like it's become mainstream quite yet. I think it's being used more, but going back 3 or 4 years ago, I don't think many people knew about it at all, unless you were in the industry. So I imagine there's going to be a number of people that are listening to this that don't know what that means. What does neurodivergent mean if you were to give us the Coles notes?
Sure. So in layman's terms, neurodivergent basically is an umbrella term for anybody that doesn't think with the typical brain. So anything under autism, OCD, ADHD, those are all considered neurodivergent. And that's probably the most simplest form I could explain it in.
So even ADHD, though, that's neurodivergent.
It is, yes.
So does that just typically mean your brain is functioning in a way that's abnormal compared to the general population?
Exactly. So not neurotypical.
Yeah. So it doesn't mean that there's a disadvantage in some cases. Sometimes there could be an advantage. Sometimes it could be a disadvantage. It depends on how it's looked at, really, I think.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's anything atypical. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How did you get to this? Like, this is an interesting, especially the mobile part. Like, of course, there's social programs out there for people who need a helping hand. And I would say that's all humans. I just think what we classify as normal, not needing as much help, is not even really accurate. I've had a lot of help in my life, and I don't think I would be classified as neurodivergent. But if you remove all that help from my life, where would my life be? It would be way less impactful than it is right now.
Right.
So I think it's a specific classification of help or a specific type of program. But there's social programs out there. So what brought you into this world to dedicate your time and the majority of the hours of your day? I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, that means you're working at least full time, probably more, well beyond that.
Yep.
That's a hell of a thing to wake up one day and say to yourself, whether consciously or subconsciously, I work for 60-70% of my waking hours, and I'm going to do this for that period of time for as long as I can. How does one get to that place?
Well, I've been personally working with neurodivergent individuals for December will be 22 years. So I think it's just embedded in me at this point. My very first time experiencing any kind of work related was my co-op placement in high school. And this is going way back. But that was the very first time I worked with a child with autism, where I just felt that instant reward of, I helped him do a worksheet in his class, and his teacher was so happy because she couldn't even get him to sit still for 5 minutes. And here I was like just doing a simple coloring worksheet with him. And I made it fun. I was throwing in sound effects and just kind of going with his motivations and what kind of attracted him to actually want to do the work. And I think that's the spark that ignited literally the rest of my working career. So from there, I was, not to go too far into everything, but in a nutshell, I went from respite work to being a support worker. I was in Australia for a year where I worked one-to-one with children there. And I was an ABA therapist here. I was in Toronto for quite a few years. It is an ABA. ABA, so that's applied behavioral analysis. So that is one-to-one therapy. I was working with children, and I was in clinical settings. I actually that's where my first business started, where I was going into homes and schools and daycares and supporting the individuals myself, and working with the parents, working with the teachers, just to create a very individualized program for each child. After I moved up to Simcoe County and COVID hit and I had my own son, I quickly realized there was next to no services for teens. So, there's the Ontario Autism Program that is taking, unfortunately, way too long for parents to receive funding. And when they do receive the funding, it could be, after the fact, they're teenagers, right? So a lot of the programs that they would have, or maybe ABA therapy when they were young, it's almost a missed opportunity. So at that point, when I was kind of hemming and hawing, what direction should I go with this? It was a mom actually that reached out to me that was the pinnacle point of the start of Buddy Up. She had a teenager who was on the verge of anxiety and depression, and she really just needed a friend. And I said, listen, I could sit with her one-to-one till the sun comes up, but I can't be her best friend, right? She needs somebody her age that she can relate to. So I said, leave it with me. And I reached out to our local library in Angus, and they were so generous. And they allowed me to sit there with her. We started a small group, and that's how it started. That's how I began Buddy Up, because more kids just kept coming week after week. That was in 2022. So we're a few years in now, and it's growing a little bit.
I love it. What an interesting concept. It's amazing when you tap into, at least what I've found for me, when someone is driven by purpose, it's like you reach this new level in your mind of imagination of how to bring that purpose to realization. I think we have this unlimited potential in our imagination to think things and create them in reality. But I think in many cases we're so limited by it because it's like, I'm building it for somebody else. I have my life outside here. My work is a means to an end, a paycheck. But very lucky to be privileged enough to have a show like this. Everybody that comes on here is an entrepreneur, right? So they're trying to carve their own path in life their way. And of course, there's a lot of sacrifice and pain and cost to that. But when somebody's really like, this is who I am, they attach their identity to it, especially. There's a lot of deep-rooted belief in there. It's amazing what can be created from it. I've never heard of a business like this before. So for the parents that are listening, what is the child expecting to experience? Is this education-based, like when you were inside the schools? I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's somebody that's struggling with the curriculum and you're there to help them get through it. You're talking about individualized programs, but what does the human go through at Buddy Up?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the one-to-one, that was more definitely following what the school had put in place for them, whether it was an IEP or the curriculum itself. That's where my support would come in for those individuals. But with Buddy Up, very different. Buddy Up is more one of the big, I guess, myths you could call it is people think of social skills programs almost like a clinical based program, or that might be a misconception out there of, I have to sign him up to a social skills program and he's not going to like it because it's very clinical, or they have to follow a certain structure. And that's pretty much the opposite of Buddy Up. So Buddy Up is actually very natural. And I believe, and I know from experience and what I've seen, their social skills enhanced just naturally by being with like-minded folks and by being with their peers and being able to share a meme or a TikTok video they found interesting, or, whatever they're into. Dungeons and Dragons is a big one nowadays. So, just it provides that judgment-free zone, zero pressure. It's not, yes, I always say I have the activities planned, and there are, of course, we do painting and board games, and I have all that stuff set up for them, but they could walk in and, you know what, I don't want to do that today. I just want to sit and talk to a friend, or I want to, I had a couple teenage girls that became really good friends, and I had a massive art project set up for everyone. I was so excited about it, and they just wanted to sit under the table together and share like TikTok videos and giggle and like have a good time, So that's what it's about. It's just very participant led. It's motivation based, and I'm there to facilitate and guide those connections that happen just naturally. Those two girls actually made solid friendships, and that's once that happens and they exchange phone numbers and then they start hanging out after the program, I'm just like, okay, my mission's complete, So yeah, I think that's kind of what debunks the whole myth of social skills programming needing to be more clinical. I think that's the difference with Buddy Up anyways.
So this is kind of like playtime for this group of humans.
Hey, don't we all need playtime? Yeah, I mean, especially with the screens and technology nowadays, it's just, I mean, of course they're welcome to bring their phones, but what I see is they actually put their phones away a lot of the time, and sure, they might share a video or two, but the other 90% of the time they're painting, they're laughing, they're sharing stories, they're connecting like on that human natural, level. And that's kind of where everything starts to bloom, and you really see them form friendships that they might ignore everybody at school all day or get ignored themselves all day. And then they come to Buddy Up and all of a sudden they're laughing, and it's just a nice natural vibe,
Well, and I think you said, doesn't everybody need playtime? Absolutely. I have been very lucky to have some great mentors in my life. I talk about them often. I have all my rules for life inked onto my arm, which come up on the show a fair bit. And a lot of those rules have been distilled from these learnings that I've had from much wiser people than me. And one of my mentors, I'll never forget, she's like, when you were born, there was a road in front, many different roads in front of you. And three of the top things all human beings are going to seek in one way or another, whether they know it or not. But if you can be aware of it, you can probably have a much better time guiding yourself, navigating yourself through the forest or waters of life. She said community, purpose, and love. That all human beings in one way or another, if they don't check those boxes, are probably not going to have the life that they could have. So I mean, love can be created inside that community. It's hard to have a great sense of love in your life when you're alone. But we see what happens to human beings when they find their tribe. And I think this is a big part of what happens at Buddy Up, or is a big part of it, is making sure people don't feel like they're alone. Once they get a part of their group, they're like, oh my God, these people are so similar to me. We have similar tastes and dislikes and likes. And what can happen to a human being when they feel supported by a community and have other people thinking the same way as them. And we've seen incredible things happen.
Yeah.
To a big part, the world was built that way, through people coming together, finding their tribe, and creating something pretty cool. So I like that. And you drive right to them.
Yeah, so we started out in the Angus Library with that teen girl who, by the way, came every week for about 3 years. She's graduated high school. She's off, moved away now. She is the trailblazer for all the participants, I like to say, and I still keep in touch with her. We started in Angus and we moved across to different areas. So we're in Wasaga Beach every Friday at the Recplex, and we're in Barrie at the Paint Bar and the Drawing House. So we're kind of spread across Simcoe County, and the plans for the future is to obviously reach more communities. It would be my dream to reach as many neurodivergent kids and teens and now adults as humanly possible, just so I don't think, like, I dream that not one person is sitting and feeling how that little girl felt, and that they can just go to their local library or go to their local spot and hang out at Buddy Up that's my dream, just to get them out of that mental state, and just feel a sense of belonging, right? I think that's what we all kind of crave, and we all need that sense of community, like you mentioned. It's massive. It's life-changing.
I mean, isolation is brutal. We saw what it did to many people during COVID.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lives just crumble. I think we just are a pack species. I think a lot of, again, much smarter people than me would say that is true about us. Life seems kind of meaningless when it's done on your own. Even the development of skills and things like that. Like, I've pushed myself to become a better version of myself so that it impacts the people that are in my sphere in a better way. You take all of those people out of that sphere and it's like, well, what are these skills good for now? You're just on this mountain or on this island on your own, doing what?
That's it. Yeah.
Maybe an appreciation for nature or something. I feel like life would get pretty dreary pretty quickly. Okay, so a picture is starting to be painted in my mind here. So I'm assuming you set a schedule. We're going to be at this location at this time doing this. I take my kid, I drive them there, I drop them off for a couple of hours.
Yeah,
how that works.
The kids group is an hour, and the teens group is an hour and a half, give or take. Depending if it's a special event or a pop-up session somewhere, but usually between an hour to an hour and a half is each session. But yeah, it's exactly what you said. You drive them in, come in, say hi, and then if you're comfortable, you could drop them off and pick them up when you're ready for to come say hi again.
And is it once a week?
Sorry?
Is it once a week?
No, we have, it used to be once a week. Now we have, I want to say 7 to 8 groups per week. So we're in the Recplex every Friday. We're in the Dunlop, on Dunlop Street. We're in the Paint Bar every Monday after school. So those, I guess you could say each location is once a week. But, if they have a membership, which you can now get, you can bounce around to whatever group, whatever location you want, and the membership covers you for that.
So if there's 7 or 8, there's something to do almost every day.
Yeah, if you're willing to drive, 20, 25 minutes between different locations after school, the adult groups are during the day. We do have a daytime kids group happening at Hey Bootsy every Tuesday morning for any kids that might be at home, maybe the homeschooled kids, or those that are maybe just seeking a day off during the week and that need the social piece a little bit more. They're welcome to come to Hey Bootsy. There's only 4 spots available for that. So that can all be registered for on the website. But yeah, I guess you're right. Every day of the week, there's a Buddy Up program going on somewhere.
And we can find out all this information on the website.
Yep, buddyuptime.com. You can register for any group there, or you can grab a membership. And after you come for more than 4 sessions a month, that membership pays for itself, and you can come to any group you want for the whole month.
Beautiful. Okay, so that's wicked. And then if you don't do a membership, you just pay per visit.
That's it. Yeah, and we are OAP funded. So if the parents or caregivers have Ontario Autism Program funding, they can use that towards the program. We're also accepting SSAH funding, which is Special Services at Home. So families can use that as well. And we most recently just got recognized with Autism Canada for the CAP funding. So that's the Community Assistance Program. It's a mouthful of funding information for you, but if you are eligible, you can apply to that as well. And that can get families up to $2,000 worth of funding to use towards Buddy Up as well.
I love it. What can we expect for size of group? Like if I have a kid.
I cap every group at 10. So there are no more than 10 participants per group. And that is specifically to ensure that every participant has an enjoyable, smooth time. Of course, there are times where, we're not always happy all the time. So if there is an upsetting moment for one of the participants, maybe something happened at school, or maybe they just need a moment to just, they don't want to, they're at the group, but they don't want to be around anybody. And we get that sometimes. They just need a minute. And so keeping the group small allows for everyone to support each other when needed. And it allows everyone to just kind of enjoy their time a little bit better.
I like the small, intimate groups. Okay, so how do we avoid? So I have a kid. I look at the website. Okay, I want to go to the paint bar, and I just show up, and there's already 10 people there. Do you have to register online first? Is that how you avoid that? How do we?
Yeah, so you would register online. So you go on the website and you check out, and all the themes and all the titles of each session are there on the website. So like, for example, this Thursday, we're at the Angus Library making spooky houses. So let's say you signed up for that. You come on in, and it's pretty rare right now that we have 10 per group. So if I'm noticing that it's getting full, I'll shoot an email out, or maybe I'll just take it off the website so no one else can register for it. But if it's up on the website, you are more than welcome to register for it.
I love it. What a cool program. Okay, you already touched on myths a bit. What was it you were saying again about myths?
Yeah,
social groups are clinical. Yeah, I do think that is accurate. I've been an addictions counselor for a while, and that's in the social service world for sure. And it was one of the things that we tried to address, was make it much less clinical. And I think they did a good job at that. But if you could touch on that a little deeper, or pivot to something else that is another misconception out there for people dealing with neurodivergent children and teenagers.
Yeah. I guess another big one, I mean, to touch on that point there, I say clinical in a sense that, and this is going back, 10 plus years in my ABA therapy days, I would see a lot of tabletop paperwork, data, and it almost felt for the participant like they were in school, or they had work to do, right? So when you walk into a social skills program specifically, I feel that it's more beneficial for the children, especially, and teenagers, to feel zero pressure. Because in order, like, for example, for you or I, if we were to be around a dinner table with a bunch of people we just met, and we're told to make eye contact with everybody, and we're told to, do very specific tasks that aren't feeling natural at all, are we likely to become that person's friend, or feel ourselves, or be able to fully, there's a term right now called masking and unmasking. Are we able to fully be ourselves in that moment? For me, I wouldn't feel comfortable. What I would feel more comfortable as going into a group where there's no pressure. I'm not told how to act. I'm not told what to do. I'm not told what to say. I'm not told how to be, right? All I'm told is just have fun and be yourself. Mm-hmm. That's where I'd be like, okay, hey, how's it going? Or maybe I'll look at someone and, I notice they're wearing a unicorn shirt and be like, hey, nice unicorn, or something, it just, things start happening naturally when you feel comfortable, right? So I think that's the whole myth of social skills programs are clinical in that sense, where Buddy Up is definitely not. It's the opposite.
Much more natural environment, bringing people together, having some fun.
Yeah. And then another one being, I guess, people a lot of times think social skills programs are just for kids. And I don't think that could be further from the truth. I think from what I've seen, obviously, a lot of teens are still, requiring a little bit more support with the social skills, but the adults too. I think everybody. I don't think social growth ever stops. We ever stop learning that. So
we shouldn't,
for anybody. So I think it's just, it's a fun way to enhance social skills. It's a fun way to just be ourselves. And, especially in the adults group, I'm hearing a lot of banter and like laughter, and, we get to poke fun at somebody that's kind of like me. And because I get to poke fun at you because I'm just like you, you know what I mean? And it creates laughter, it creates connection, funny stories and experiences. And that's what creates friendships. That's just naturally over time. The consistency coming back to the groups I've seen has made some wonderful relationships. And yeah, I think that's one big myth that I I would hope that people stopped kind of listening to, that it's just for kids. I think it's for everybody.
And there's a few parallel examples. You're talking about providing a natural environment for people, for them to feel comfortable in, and then all of these skills and personal development blossoms from it. It's one of the reasons I love sports so much. And when we're hiring somebody, we ask them many things, but one of the things we ask them about is, what extracurricular activities do you do? And a pretty nice green light pops up in our minds, my business partner and myself, when we hear that they've been competitive athletes. They're doing something that they love to do with people that they like to be around. But so many skills indirectly come from playing hockey, playing in a band, whatever it is. You have to learn to be on time. You have to learn to connect with people. You have to learn to deal with conflict, because you're not going to be on a hockey team for 5 years and not have conflict. You have to deal with how to lose, how to win, all of these hand-eye coordination. Like, you just keep going down the ladder of skills that are developed from doing something that you enjoy. Yep. Rather than putting somebody into an environment that they really don't enjoy, they don't feel like it's fit for them, feel like they're forced, and now expect them to do these hard things. Developing skills isn't easy. Dealing with conflict, dealing with other humans isn't easy. All of these things are challenging for humans to do. What better way to do it than to put them in a natural environment where they don't feel forced to do it, but they're choosing to do it. I feel like human beings can really thrive a lot more when they feel like they have choice, autonomy over their own decisions, and just find their own path based on their own interests, curiosities, personality, whatever goes into that recipe. Outcomes, I think, a much more developed version of a human than putting them into a forced experiment almost. I think about like a mouse in a yeah, that's what it is. It's like humans don't like that. Grab that mouse, put it in a group of other mice, put it in an environment, and see what comes. So I think that's very cool. Let's pivot for a little bit and learn a little bit more about Kathleen. I like what your business stands for, especially. I feel like you've created something that wasn't really out there. Was there other competitors with this? Did you just...
There are social skills programs in Simcoe County, but
Sure.
I was the first, Buddy Up was the first mobile program in Angus, and I do believe we are the first mobile social skills program in Simcoe County. So, yeah.
And you came to this because you thought it was lacking. You were trying to fill a gap.
Yeah, I literally just took that idea of that one girl that started in Angus, and then it wasn't even really me. It was the community that started reaching out on social media and saying, hey, do you have this program in Barrie? Do you have this program in Aurelia? I had someone ask me if it's out in Sudbury. So, that's where I said, you know what, I really got to quit my full-time job, which I just did at the beginning of September, and get out into other communities and start helping more. So
what did you do before? What did you give up for this?
Oh, it was a cushiony job. It was a cushiony job that I loved. It was working with families, but it was, after COVID and having my own son, I was just there for a couple years, and I was doing Buddy Up on the side after work, and I was trying to kind of do both and parent and grow the business. So I was getting pulled with Buddy Up too much. And then of course the community reaching out and asking for it in different areas. I had to give it up. So yeah, it's been a wild ride with it. But I'm so glad I took that plunge, because now I'm able to hopefully help more kids and teens and adults. So it's been worth it, I guess.
Do you still get that sense of reward that you did at the beginning?
Oh, absolutely. If not even more so now, just because I get to reflect and look back at all the different friendships that have been made. And there's there's dozens of moments that stick out, but one very special one was around that same time of the girl that started it. There was a boy that he was kind of in a similar situation, but I remember he came in the very first session, and I didn't know what his face really looked like, because his hood was over his face. He was crouched, his arms were crossed. And I said, okay, this might be a tough shell to crack here, but after I'd say the third or fourth session, he took his hood off and then he started smiling and then he started engaging in board games. And then after that, we quickly learned how funny he was. He was so funny. He was just making jokes and very witty and very quick to, respond to me and like very witty answers. And he was making me laugh so much. And he became another trailblazer, I think. And again, he's moved away. He's about 18 years old now. So those moments just stick in my mind, and they just keep continuing, and it never gets old.
I love it. Okay. Rapid fire. 4 or 5 things. What really lights you up? What do you do for fun outside of work, outside of being a mother? Pull that all away. What does Kathleen
I love being outside. I'd say nature, anything by the water. I love going to the lake. I go walking on trails. I have a German Shepherd, and he loves running in the bushes and finding whatever he can. Local events, family time.
Okay.
Pretty simple, girl.
Anything outside of that? Like to read, watch movies, like to travel? You got an interesting hobby outside of you create pots?
Yeah, I do love traveling when I can. I used to a lot more when I was younger, of course, but
Sure.
Traveling is a big one. Learning different cultures and
You have a favorite place?
Sorry?
You have a favorite place?
Oh, I've been to Scotland a few times. My family is from there, and that has a very special place in my heart. And it's also very beautiful, and I never get sick of going to Scotland. So that might be one of my top ones up there with Australia. I did live in Australia for a year, so Australia's kind of got a piece of my heart too.
Yeah, an interesting place. I didn't go there for as long as you did, but definitely hopped over the pond and sunk my teeth into Australia for a little bit.
Yeah.
An alien world.
It is. It's amazing over there.
Yeah, it is. Let's talk about hardship for a moment. I really value this question because thinking about questions like this for myself have led to brighter pastures, greener pastures, essentially, in my own life. I think sometimes the greatest things in our life come with the greatest sacrifice, the greatest cost, and the greatest challenge, right? The people I think that have developed themselves the most have done that through facing the most challenge. Even in school, usually the best performing students have gone through the most challenging courses, typically, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's true in life. Certainly true in business. Business is very difficult. Entrepreneurship has been one of the most challenging things that I've gone through in my life, even including death and things like that, because I've lost some family members for sure. And it was really hard, but grieving doesn't take 10 years for most people. I won't speak for everybody, but I haven't met too many people that are grieving after a 10-year period. It's usually really hard for a few weeks, a few months, maybe a year or so. And then you get flashbacks every once in a while when you get a reminder, and it kind of sets you back. But life gets really positive again pretty quickly, especially if you're determined to do that. Whereas business is never ending. The problems continue to happen. And I would argue that the bigger the business gets, the larger the problems get as well. Yeah. So we're on this path to make our lives freer, more financially stable, have a schedule that we want, autonomy, agency over our own life. Like we're taking this path because we think it has these great rewards. And 2 of the big ones are my own schedule, which I can come and go as I please, and freedom, how we ever define freedom. I can do what I want. The opposite is true for most entrepreneurs. We work way more. We solve way more problems. We have to pay everybody before we get what's left over. I mean, when somebody looks at entrepreneurship in reality on paper, and you really try to pitch that to a human that hasn't been conditioned by the message of entrepreneurship, I think most would be like, there's no way I'm doing that.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm doing that. And we like to talk about it on the show so that, people have a real understanding of what it is. We've been in business for a while now. We faced a lot of problems. Certainly, there's a lot of businesses out there that have faced more and bigger than us. But there's a lot of people that are going to be listening to this that are in month 1 or thinking about starting it. And I think a lot of us romanticize the idea of entrepreneurship. I think now more so than ever because of social media. romanticizes it a bit as well, but it is a damn hard path. It affects us inside our business. It affects us in our personal life. So we love to ask the guests on the show, are there any trials, tribulations, hardships that you've been through, either personal or in business? And it's not about just going through the hard thing. The point of this is that typically when we put the effort in to get through the hard thing, regardless of what it is, we come out stronger. So is there anything you've been through, personal or business, that when you went through it sucked? You may have even thought to yourself, I wish I wasn't going through this right now. But when you look back at it in hindsight, you now know that this has become a vital ingredient to giving you life, to giving you the life that you live today.
Yeah. I was listening and I'm like resonating with it all. I think the biggest ones that stand out for me personally, and well, one's personal and one's more on the business end of things. Personally was, and this is not to take anything away from having a baby, but I had my son in March 2020, which is literally the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
So, when I gave birth, the next morning, the nurse came in with a mask on, and I didn't know, and all of these things at that time were obviously so new to everybody. But when you bring a baby home with no support, she even sent us home with formula, like nobody wanted to like touch anybody. It was just, it was all very new to me to have a baby, but also the whole COVID thing, and then throwing on the news every morning to see numbers. And I guess it was traumatizing in a way that we didn't realize it was. And, that's for so many people. But I think looking back, it was obviously that I have to take the positives out of it. I mean, my partner was off for 3 months at that time, so he got to stay home with us the first 3 months of our little guy's life, and that was amazing, right? So we always have to look at the positives, which I quickly try to do with everything. But that was personally probably one of the hardest things I did, was raising a newborn during that 1 year of 2020. And then on the business side of things, just what's happening recently, I think just at the very beginning of this month, I think it's been business-wise the hardest part, because when I had my business in Toronto, it was very different. It was going around, again, mobile, but one-to-one with kids. But this one is groups, and it's the first month of kind of taking the leap after a full-time job, plus parenting, and just everything, with life and expenses. And I think it's like everything you just said. It's so hard. It's a lot of the unseen, and people don't really realize how much goes into it behind the scenes. So, but looking back, it builds resilience. It builds good scheduling habits, and it's making me literally a better entrepreneur, I feel. And it's always a learning curve. It's always a learning process, and I love learning. So it's still in the works, but we're moving forward.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I was thinking while you were saying that, try not to think while people are speaking, but you know how that brain works. Denzel was saying in one of his speeches, Denzel Washington, fail forward. It's like the path to success is through failure. And then I have another mentor of mine. His name's Alex Hermosi, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. And just on the financial side, like a lot of people want to make more money because, not for greed, some people, sure, but it's a vital resource to live the life that we want to live. If you want to build a big business that has a great impact and changes lives, you need resources to fuel. It's the fuel for your business, like oil for gas for a car. We need it for so many things. And the way he looks at problems is opportunities to make more money. So it's like if money is your thing for whatever reason, and you can feel totally fine about just wanting to make money, there's nothing wrong with that, even though sometimes we bastardize it a little bit, make people feel guilty for wanting to make money and nothing beyond that. I don't see a problem with that at all. but to seek the problems. If you want to just make more money, become an entrepreneur, because you will be thrown problems constantly. So I appreciate you sharing the stories, both personal and business, but also sharing what it has done to you to go through those things. So looking back, would you have wished that you didn't have your son in March?
Oh God, no, no, my gosh, no. He's literally my world. Best thing that's ever happened. Absolutely.
And I'm sure that's not an ideal time to have a child, but I don't have a kid. I have the utmost respect for parents. I think it's the hardest job on the planet. I know I gave my parents a run for their money. And a lot of the things that I'm developing in my own life personally are to become a certain type of husband, are to become a certain type of dad. I think those are kind of the pinnacle for a man, to be those two things. So, treat it as a gift and earn it. But I imagine it set you up for certain things down the line with your child that maybe if you would have had your kid in a much more ideal time, maybe you wouldn't have learned those skills. Because I don't think we learn in ideal environments as well, comfortable environments, perfect situations. I think we learn at least to a faster degree when obstacles are put in front of us.
Yeah, it's true. One of the best ways I've learned, or maybe it's the only way I've learned a few skills in my past, was literally being thrown in with the wolves, thrown into the fire, or whatever they say, right? Like,
Right.
with no training and no background, just like, here's your task, here's your job, go for it. And, you learn as you go. And it's funny because it just reminds me of one thing that I always kind of look back on of I really quickly learn what to do, but I more quickly learn what not to do. Right. And I think that's almost just as important, if not more important, to learn what not to do. So just something that made me think of that.
Yeah. I mean, in many cases, when we're talking to our team, sometimes we don't know what to do, but at least if you can pinpoint what not to do, that's how you start creating your compass. I think it's a lot harder to find out exactly what to do. I don't know if you're familiar with Charlie Munger, but it's Warren Buffett's business partner. He's no longer around anymore, but just an incredible, brilliant mind, really down to earth type of guy. At least he seems, from what I've consumed of his content. And he says inverse, always the inverse, meaning start from the top and work your way down. Look for what you need to not do, rather than always saying, how can I make this situation perfect? What do I need to do next? It's like flip it on its head. Just find out what you need not to do and either avoid that or do the opposite, and you'll probably be in a good position.
It's funny. Yeah, exactly. I've never heard that before, but exactly what my thoughts were. Yeah.
Okay. We got you on stage painting a picture. We got you on stage. You have, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 potential people that you can help in front of you. Parents, kids, everybody in between. And they give you the microphone and they say, you have 60 seconds to tell this group what they need to know to act on your services. Like, basically, these are all potential customers in front of you. What do you need to tell them in that 60-second period about Buddy Up? How can they benefit from your services? What do you want to say to them?
I would say, if you have an individual in your life that is neurodivergent, that you feel is seeking that sense of belonging and possibly needs a friend or two, they should come to Buddy Up. And they can register for all the programs at buddyuptime.com.
Honestly, I know you're laughing about it, but it's like we're in the world of marketing and sales. So sales scripts, sales pitching, elevator pitches, closing tips, all of this type of stuff. Simplicity is king and queen. But that's what we would want. I say that to nearly 400 something episodes. The amount of people that have taken that 60 seconds and gone on for like 6 minutes, and I'm like, they would have kicked you off the stage 5 minutes ago. You would have lost the whole audience. But what you said is, if you have a person or know a person that's neurodivergent and they're missing that or seeking that sense of belonging, just bring them to us. Yeah. And go on the website to find out. It's like, perfect. I have a neurodivergent person in my family. I think their life could be better. Here's an opportunity for them. And I imagine we haven't talked about the cost, but I can't imagine it's that expensive of a program.
No. So it's $35 per participant to join any group. The membership, if you're think you can make it to more than 4 sessions a month, it's $135 a month, and that covers you for all locations and all groups across Simcoe County.
Yeah. So it's a really low risk. I mean, anybody should be willing to try anything that can make their life better for $35. I mean, a therapy session can be anywhere from, cheapest I've heard is like $110. It can be all the way like $350
Oh yeah.
for a therapy session. So,
yeah.
And although I think therapy is another umbrella term, because what do we actually mean by therapy? There could be so many things, but I think the way most people are going to think of therapy in their mind, I think it can be very beneficial. It's certainly been helpful in my life. It's certainly helped a lot of other people, but sometimes other things are missing that therapy can't really pinpoint, like community. You can't go and talk to a therapist and maybe they can help you identify that you're missing community and help you start to address the skills needed to fit well in a community. But sometimes just having people that care for you and you care for them just puts the wind back in your sails.
Yeah.
It's certainly been true for my life. I've gone from having huge groups of people around me all the time, constantly bouncing back and forth, to having much more isolated periods of time on my own, and then going back to groups of people again, just smaller as I learn and go through. I'm glad I had the time on my own to learn more about me. That was a good chunk of several years. But there was some loneliness that I had to address in there. And when I decided to kind of come out of my cave, it's, am I going to be on my own again or get back into community? I'll say this, my life has always been better from community. And I don't think I've really met somebody who just flat out says, I just want to be on my own all the time, isolated. Yeah. Most people don't seem to do well in isolation, but what can be accomplished in a community is just sometimes staggering.
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're seeing with the older teens getting into 17, 18 and up. And then the adults where, you know, I had a parent tell me, my son really wanted to come to your program, but there were people there. So, you know, it's like they want, there are people that, and I've heard it myself, well, they'll say, I do want to be alone, but it's almost their way of saying, you know, I feel that there's something underlying there. It's, do you want to be alone or do you want to avoid the social anxiety, right? So I think once they get past that hardest part of actually getting their shoes on and getting to the group, then they quickly realize that maybe they don't want to be alone and they actually want to sit with somebody, even if it's one person, you know, even if it's one person beside them in the corner that they can just sit and whatever, you know, whether they talk or they, you know, hang out. Sometimes that saying of, I do want to be alone, it really means something a little bit different. So sometimes that's the hardest part, is just actually getting there.
I imagine there's not too many people that actually want to be completely alone. There's even the people that said, no, for sure I do. There's probably something underlining it. Like, I don't feel valuable enough to be in the group. I don't want people to see me this way. I'm at a low point in my life and I'm an embarrassment. So it's still not even, I want to be alone. It's, I don't think I'm fit for the group and I don't want to deal with their judgment. Okay, well, let's address that. If we address that, now do you still want to be alone, that you've become a better version of yourself? I'm thinking 99 out of 100 people say, no, I want to go find my spouse or have a family or be a part of a whatever. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Last couple of questions for you, Kathleen. First off, what's the best way to contact you? I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, but let's just put it all in one. Social media, phone, email, website, whatever is the best way to contact. You don't need to say all of those, just the best way for people to get a hold of you.
I think to get a hold of me, the best way is to email me at buddyuptime@gmail.com.
Okay.
That's if you have any questions or if you have a concern or, you know, you just want to connect with me first. That would be the best way, is to shoot me an email. And then, of course, the website, buddyuptime.com, you can register for programs there. And if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, it's all at Buddy Uptime.
Beautiful. Super easy. One of my favorite questions. I don't put it in the questionnaire because I don't want anybody to prepare for it. As soon as I see that preparation comes in, I just change the question entirely. But I've mentioned mentors a couple times on this. There's very rarely a podcast that I don't, because it's usually related. And we're simply talking about people who have more experience than the next person being willing to share their experience with that person. That's a teacher in some way. It's that simple. And I think that's in part a huge way that we become better species. I mean, I don't know if you're a big fan of animals. It seems like you are with nature and your dog, but I love watching David Attenborough documentaries. He's just my guy. Mm-hmm. And when I hear about the life of the octopus, like they is so incredibly smart, multiple brains. I think it's like 8 or something. It's ridiculous, or 8 hearts, something alien, so smart. And yet mom gives birth to all of these eggs, leaves it there, protects it, stops eating, sacrifices her whole life for it to the point where she actually dies by the time they start hatching, and passes on none of her experience or skills or anything, which is just one of the smartest animals out there, and doesn't pass on anything. It's just a tragedy. So yeah, we do have those people out there. And one of the most impactful mentor in my life taught me about the value of impact. Basically said, you were born, you will die. What will the middle equate to? Have you ever thought of this? I was 22 years old. It's like, no, it's like girls, cars, sports, superficial, silly stuff that a young man thinks of. So she got me to start thinking a little bit deeper on that. I do have a footprint on this planet. Am I happy with it? If I keep leaving the same footprint for as long as I'm here, don't know how long that's going to be, will I be okay with that when my final time, when the curtains close? So that's when I really started considering these things. And that's when all of these came here, to make sure that I want to be this person for these reasons and do these things so that I have the impact I have. So it's one of my favorite questions to ask the guests on the show. Sometimes they've thought about it, sometimes they haven't. But Kathleen, what would you like your impact to be?
Yeah, I've never been asked that, and I've never thought about it. My impact, I think, to make a positive difference in the lives of neurodivergent people. Pretty simply.
For someone who hasn't thought about it, that answer came pretty quick, which must mean it's true.
I think it's all I know, really. It's, from 16 years old and going through so many different journeys in the field and meeting so many incredible human beings. I just, that's probably my whole purpose and hopefully what my impact is.
I love it. Well, Kathleen, it's been great talking to you. For anybody that's listening, if you have a neurodivergent, anybody, family member, kid, whatever, who thinks they could be benefited by Kathleen and her business, just take the plunge. $35 isn't that much. Most of us can risk $35 to find out if this could be an experience that could increase the quality of our life in some way. Give her a shout. Kathleen, it's been a pleasure. I think what you do is great. Keep doing it. And I look forward to chatting with you again in the future.
Thank you so much, Jeff. This was great.
Awesome. We will talk to you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpwithjeffandsean.com. That's gnpwithjeffandsean.com. Or call 705-413-3775.